Hey, Derrick, guess what?
Hit me with it.
We just got a promotion with Audible.
Audible, fantastic. I love Audible.
Do you know what the cool thing about this deal is?
What's that?
If our listeners go to audibletrial.com/supercinemapod, they get a free trial with Audible. And do you know what they get with that?
What do they get with that? Tell me.
They get one free audiobook of their choice, and they get 2 free Audible originals, which is special content that Audible makes available free for all its subscribers.
Are you kidding me? That deal is so good, I may go myself and sign them.
Do you think they let you keep the books after you're done?
No, you're not going to tell me they let you keep the books after you're done.
Yes. In fact, you can go sign up for a trial, and you can cancel before the trial ends, and you get to keep the books you've already downloaded.
Well, I don't see how you can beat that with a stick.
Exactly, yeah. And you can, lots of great books, especially for fans of this show. You can listen to Super Gods by Grant Morrison, which is all about like how the superhero comics have changed and evolved over time. Or you can check out Marvel Comics, The Untold Story.
Which is a terrific book. I have that both in hardcover, and I listen to that on Audible myself in my car while traveling back and forth.
And there's also another similar book that's called Slugfest, which is about like the wars between Marvel and DC Comics.
Oh, okay.
So that's another one you got to check out too. So yeah, head on over to audibletrial.com/supercinemapod and start your free trial right now. You get 1 free audiobook and 2 free Audible originals, and you can keep them even if you cancel before it's over.
The Witchblade has a way of slipping from its wielder's grasp just when it is needed most. You're wearing it now.
How do you know so much about the,
To name is to know. To know is to control. Sarah.
How do you know so much about the Witchblade?
I read a lot.
And this Witchblade is not yours?
There is only one. But as you can see, only women can wear the Witchblade.
Why?
Women are more elemental. They're closer to nature than men. The Witchblade finds them superior. Do you believe in destiny, Sarah?
I believe that, things are a lot more connected than they appear.
They are.
What is this thing? What is the Witchblade?
A mystery. Wrapped in a riddle and cloaked in a conundrum.
That doesn't help very much.
Language is a labyrinth. A hall of mirrors that we can easily get lost in. I do want to help you, Sarah. I can help you solve the mystery. The Witchblade has powers, many powers, but only the person who wields it can truly know them all. Haven't you felt different since it's found you?
That's an understatement. Yes, in fact, I feel like I'm losing my mind.
And yet you can't tell anyone about your predicament. Anyone but me. Why do you think that is?
Look, Mr. Irons, bottom line is I don't want this thing. You can have it back.
You loved your father very much, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You can use the Witchblade to pierce the veil of the senses, to see in an entirely new way, to extract more information from the universe than the normal human sensorium allows. You already have.
What are you implying?
Nothing. I am simply stating a fact.
No offense, Mr. Irons, but I don't want this thing. My life is complicated enough.
Sarah, you were destined to wear the Witchblade as for all these women. Embrace your destiny, Sarah.
What do you mean?
The Witchblade. The gauntlet has chosen you. You must accept it. Use it or lose it. And if you don't deserve it, if you don't earn it, it will abandon you.
I don't believe in any of this magic.
Magic. Alchemy. Science. All different names for the same thing. All ways to explore the natural, or rather the supernatural realm. Means of grasping the unknown.
I don't agree.
Don't you want to avenge the death of Daniel Wu and Maria? Don't you want to find your father's killer? Don't you want justice?
Yeah, but I can do all of the above myself.
Welcome to the Superhero Cinephiles podcast. I am half of your host, Perry Constantine.
And as always, I am the other half, Derrick Ferguson, coming to you from beautiful downtown Brooklyn.
I'm coming to you. I'm doing good, although it's not beautiful out here. We got a bunch of rain over the past few days lately.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, not much you can do, but it's not too bad because I'm mostly inside anyway. But
we're supposed to be getting a bunch of rain Friday because there is not one but two hurricanes that's supposed to be hitting.
Yeah, I saw that. Jesus.
Yeah. They're getting it. They've been evacuating for like the last 3 or 4 days. They've been telling people, listen, you leave. And they're telling the people that are staying, they are telling them, okay, listen, you can stay, but nobody's coming to get you. You're on your own.
Oh, wow.
Now, some people have a problem with that, but you know what? I don't. I don't have a problem with that. Because you know something? If you want to willingly stay and you say, yeah, well, I want to ride it out. Okay, I see no reason why people should come and risk their life coming to get you once you change your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that point of view. I'm not sure I completely agree with that, but I can definitely understand that point of view.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's not a popular point of view, but that's just me. Because, you know, when you've been told numerous times, and these are people that have lived through this stuff, so they know what it's like. It's not like they don't know.
Well, I think part of the problem with having lived through it before is you get cocky and you get arrogant about like, well, I've seen it before.
Well, it's know what else? I think it's a regional thing because I remember back during the 80s, people used to ask me, "Oh, New York! Oh, how can you live in New York with all that crime?" Mm-hmm. And I said, "Well, what crime?"
Yeah,
you know, because it was just something. You know, when you live in New York, there's a lot of things you just take in stride.
Oh yeah, people said the same thing to me. You know, growing up in the Chicago area, and I grew up in the suburbs, but I did go. My university was in Chicago. They're like, "Oh, well, didn't you deal with a lot of crime?" Like, I never. 25 years I was there, never experienced anything. I mean, I had people I know people who had, like my grandpa got mugged one time. My best friend got mugged one time, but like me personally, I never experienced anything. And because we were on the north side, like most of the crime, there's not a whole lot of crime up on the north side, at least not out in public, because the tourist area. So the police make sure to monitor that shit there.
It was on the south side where everything was happening at, right? The south side?
In the older days, it was more on the south side. The south side has improved in recent years, and now it seems like it's more on the west side, I think. But the south side still does have the south side still does have some problem areas too.
Yeah. But I guess it's like, I mean, if you're living there, it never seems as bad as it does to people who don't live there, because then they hear all of these stories and everything like that. Because people always say to people that live out in California, oh, yeah, but you got all those earthquakes there, and people in California say, but so what?
Well, here, I've got a active volcano in my backyard, so.
Well, see, there you go.
Yeah, and people are like, how can you live near an active volcano? I'm like, well, it's inconvenient sometimes because it spews ash all over us. But what the way I look at it is if I'd rather it be spewing ash every day than spewing lava every 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like it's going off all the time.
Right. Yeah. So, anyway, what else is, we had some big stuff coming up over the past week, the DC Fandome stuff.
Yeah, a lot of big announcements, a lot of surprising stuff came out of there. Did you get to watch any of it at all?
Oh, I watched some of it live, and most of the other stuff I saw afterwards on YouTube. So I got to see the Suicide Squad video game announcement live with Will Arnett talking with the guy from Rocksteady. They made the Arkham Asylum and Arkham City and Arkham Knight games. So now they're making the Suicide game, which we talked about a little bit last week, Kill the Justice League, where it looks like Brainiac has taken control of the Justice League and the Suicide Squad has to kill him. So it's like this action. It can be co-op, but you can also play solo too, and you get to choose between. There are 4 members of the squad you can choose from. So it's Harley Quinn, Deadshot, King Shark, and Captain Boomerang. And you can switch between the characters, kind of like, so it's very similar to like the Ultimate Alliance games that they were out like 10 years ago or whatever.
Right.
So that looks pretty cool. And then, of course, we had I got to see Aisha Tyler speaking live with Matt Reeves, who's directing the Batman. And, he dropped the trailer for that as well, a little teaser trailer for that. So did you get to see the trailer?
I saw the trailer. I'm like you. I watched a lot of these on YouTube later on, although I wish I'd known Aisha Tyler was talking to Matt. Well, that's probably on YouTube
Yeah, I think so too, yeah.
Yeah, so I found later. So you know what? I am getting, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm getting a very like Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil era vibe from this Batman.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm getting. Like they had a very brief scene where Batman's like standing, all the cops is around him, and he's talking to Commissioner Gordon. And I'm saying, wait a minute, we've never seen that in the Batman movie before.
Well, we did. You know what I liked about that scene is we did see a variation of that because in the Dark Knight, we do have those scenes where Batman turns up at the bank, and then later at one of the Joker's crime scenes. But Gordon tells all the other cops to leave them alone.
Right, exactly.
This time, all the cops are still in the room with him.
Yeah, and apparently this is a Batman that works much more closely with the police than we've seen in previous. But like I said, from the look of it and the vibe I'm just getting, like I said, it reminds me a lot of when Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams did their classic reworking of the character. So yeah, I'm digging this. The more I see of this, the more I'm definitely digging it.
Yeah, I'm liking it too. And that scene when we see him talking with Gordon, the police, I was getting flashbacks to the Batman the Animated Series because those scenes happened all the time in that show.
Yeah,
and it was really nice to see that happen, to see that brought to life. And I get the sense, and especially from what he was saying in the interview with Aisha Tyler, who, in fact, I was watching the interview, and for some reason I could not place Aisha Tyler's face. I'm like, who is that? I know who that is. Her voice sounds familiar. Her face looks familiar. I could not place it. And then afterwards, someone said, oh, that was Aisha Tyler. I'm like, how the hell did I not realize that?
Yeah, how could you not realize?
I don't know. It's been so long since I've seen her face. That's why. So I just, it just wasn't clicking in my head.
Yeah, because she actually hasn't been very high profile lately. I know she has a podcast that she does.
Oh, she does. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I can't think of the name now because I haven't listened to it for a while. But she has a podcast that she does. But she's like a geek goddess from way back.
Yeah.
So she's cool. Yeah. Okay. I definitely have to look that up. The other thing that had me squealing like a fangirl is the trailer for the Suicide Squad.
Yes. Oh God, the behind the scenes stuff with that and the character intros, that looks so awesome.
Listen, they had me a polka dot man. It's serious. You know what? And then, of course, you had the people say, oh, well, it's too many characters. It's too many characters. It's too many. For something like this, you cannot have too many characters.
Well, you know what? The whole point of having all these characters here is so that you can kill them off. That's why most of them are in there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, half of them, there's a good chance that half to 90% of them are going to be dead by the end. The only character that you can know for a fact is not going to get killed is Harley Quinn.
Yeah. And everyone was wondering who's Idris Elba going to play, and we finally found out. I don't know if it was announced before, but he's playing Bloodsport, which was kind of surprising.
Whose character has an interesting backstory, and I'm wondering if they're going to make reference to this because he went out in the comic book. I remember, drawn by John Byrne. He went after Superman. He had kryptonite bullets. He almost killed Superman.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if in the movie they're going to be making mention of that.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see. It looks, they didn't give us a complete cut trailer because we just got like behind the scenes stuff and like the character intro video, but it's looking good.
And I really, really, for the life of me, I cannot understand the whining from a lot of people. I mean, the guy that wrote and directed this is the guy that gave us freaking Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Do you have any doubt that this is going to be on that level?
I mean, look, from the footage we've seen so far, from the logo, the style of the logo, like this looks like a 70s war movie. It looks awesome.
I mean, yeah. I mean, But then again, and also people, can we please stop with the whine and crying about Robert, like, what's his name? Robert Pattinson? Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah.
he was the guy from Twilight. Twilight was freaking 15 years ago,
Who
okay?
gives a shit?
You know, the guy's made like 20 movies since then.
Yeah, but you guys didn't watch any of them anyway.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Nobody watched any of them.
I remember years ago when I was working on this indie comic with some guys, and I'd mentioned something about I'd mentioned something about George Clooney, and they're like, "Oh, George Clooney is terrible. He's terrible. He was the worst Batman." I'm like, you know, he's made other movies besides Batman and Robin. He's actually a good actor. And they're like, no, we're not gonna. I'll never watch another movie with George Clooney again. And this is like, you know, like 15, 20 years after Batman and Robin, and they still refuse to watch a movie with George Clooney.
Yeah, and you know, and I said, you know, when are you gonna grow up?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Please, you know, Robert Pattinson said, you know, I didn't know him from too many movies, but the few movies that I had seen him in, you know, I'd never seen the Twilight movies simply because I wasn't interested. But I'd seen him in some other things, and I said, okay, this guy. So when he was announced as being Batman, I said, yeah, you know something, I can see it, him as a young Bruce Wayne, you know, Batman just learning the ropes. I can see that. And like you said, from the little bit that we've seen so far, yeah, they definitely got me intrigued.
Yeah.
I definitely want to see more now.
Although I do have one quibble about it, and I wish he had gotten a haircut. Like, I don't like Bruce Wayne with that kind of like floppy hairstyle. That's my one quibble.
Yeah. Bruce Wayne is a little bit more, you know, coiffed.
Yeah. And you know, you got Paul Dano as the Riddler. Sounds really awesome because you hear his voice in the background and everything, and then you see a glimpse of him in costume, and he's got like this like plastic face mask or something. It looks really creepy too.
Yeah.
And we also got. Did you see Colin Farrell as the Penguin?
Yes, I saw.
Wow! I did not recognize him.
I did not recognize him at all. Like I said, I am looking. The more I see of this, the more I want to see.
Yeah, and Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. We got to see a bit of her in action too.
That's the best compliment I can give this movie. The more I see, I say, okay, they got the right vibe.
Yeah. And so then what else did we see? So we saw the Zack Snyder's Justice League trailer, which what is this guy's obsession with that Leonard Cohen Hallelujah song?
You know what? And it definitely was the wrong song.
Well, it was the wrong song when he used it in Watchmen too.
Well. Okay, there were some directors that, know what he got right when in the beginning of Watchmen, over the credits, he had... the
Bob Dylan song.
Right, the Bob Dylan song.
Yeah, the times they are changing. Yeah.
Right, he got that right. But he couldn't leave well enough alone.
No.
He had to keep, because the song he used, for Justice League, that was completely... He was trying for the same vibe as he did with Watchmen, but you know what? Sometimes it's best to be a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
And know when to leave well enough on. I don't know. And you know what? I'm speaking as somebody who liked Justice League. I had no problem with Justice League. It was, you know what? It was far from being a perfect movie. It's far from being a perfect Justice League movie. It's far from being a perfect superhero movie. But I liked it for what it was. Everybody seems to think that we're going to get this right. Okay. Everybody apparently thinks that we're going to get a brand new movie.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I'm getting from talking to people and from stuff that I read. Apparently people have this impression that this is a brand new movie with all kinds of stuff they've never seen before.
Well, there is going to be a lot of stuff we haven't seen because it's going to be 4 hours long. But most of that stuff is not going to be like these big action set pieces. Like, you're not going to see the Justice League fight Darkseid. You're not going to see that because that was never the plan for this movie. You're going to see Darkseid in the flashback is what it's going to be.
Right. This is stuff that, he already shot.
Yeah.
I understand. Now, my understanding is that, that Warner Brothers is going to give him a little bit of money to do a little bit, to do some other tweaking here and there and everything like that. But it's not like he's calling everybody back and putting them in costumes and filming brand new scenes.
I think there's a little bit of that. I think they've announced there's some of the actors are coming back for some small reshoots, but I don't think it's going to be like these major set pieces that everyone thinks it's going to be.
No. No,
Like,
no.
it's mostly going to be, and you know what I think? Judging from the trailer and judging from what we heard about the movie before this all happened, is I'm guessing a lot of the stuff we're going to see is a lot of stuff involving Cyborg.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Because I did see some stuff in there that I know I didn't see in the movie as it is.
And the final battle will probably be different, like, because I don't think he had it set in that same Russian town or whatever it was. So I think the final battle will be, but it's largely going to be a lot of the same stuff, like the basic story. We're going to see Superman coming back to Wayne Manor, right? We're going to see him in the black suit and everything. And apparently the scene when he comes back and he interacts with Lois is a little bit different because we see his mom in that scene as well.
Right. Yeah. So
it'll be like alternate versions of scenes that we've seen before. Like we see a scene where Martha comes to Lois's apartment, whereas in the Joss Whedon version they were talking at the Daily Planet.
Right.
So it'll be like alternate versions of stuff we've already seen. A lot of that stuff was done. I don't know. It was like they had to do catch-up shoots or whatever. I was gonna say they did, so they had to give because they had to reshoot stuff to give Whedon the director's credit because there are all these DGA rules. But Snyder was still credited as director on the original Justice League, so I'm not sure exactly why they had to redo all that stuff.
Well, we will see. I mean, you know what? I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna look. I mean, I might as well because I have HBO Max. Anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And also, for those of you who don't know, DC Universe is kaput. Yeah. So all of this stuff is moving to HBO Max, which has its own section. It's got its own hub. Because if you go to HBO Max, they've got what they call hubs. Turner Classic Movie has a hub, so you can go on there and watch movies from Turner Classic Movies. Cartoon Network has its own hub, so you can go there and watch all the animated stuff from on there. And DC has its own hub on there, which has a whole shitload of DC stuff. So yeah, they got like all of the Batman movies. They got all of the Superman movies. They got all of the animated stuff. Well, not all of it, but a whole bunch of animated stuff. And supposedly anything that's not on there now, they're going to be adding to later on.
Right, and they're going to have like all the DC Universe stuff on there too. Like Doom Patrol was already on there.
Yeah, Doom Patrol is already on there. Harley Quinn is already on there.
Do they have the CW stuff on there?
They got the CW stuff on there too. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I know that's going to be leaving Netflix. So because they announced that like I think some of the shows still have agreements with Netflix. So like the Flash, Supergirl, Arrow, Legends, all of those, Black Lightning as well. All of those are still on Netflix. But Batwoman never came to Netflix.
Batwoman is on HBO Max.
Yeah, so I guess like these deals are probably for like another season or two with all those shows.
Been confirmed.
Right. Yeah.
That's been confirmed that once their contract with Netflix is up, all of that stuff is going to HBO Max.
What about that? There's this. I've heard about this series for years. I've never actually seen it, but the I think it was the 1980s. Was it Ruby Spears Superman cartoon? It lasted for like only one season or so.
Yeah.
Do you know about it? You know what I'm talking about?
I know about it. I remember seeing it. I don't remember any actual individual episodes, but yeah, I do remember seeing it.
Okay. Do you know if that's on HBO Max?
I don't know, but I can look while we're doing this.
Okay,
I
cool.
can look and I can tell you. I can look. Hold on.
I've always been curious about this series. It's supposed to be a really good Superman show, but it was like very short-lived. It like, I don't know, whatever happened. I just couldn't find an audience, or like it was some network trouble or whatever happened. It only lasted for like one season. And Marv Wolfman was like one of the writers on it, apparently.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's what it was. Marv Wolfman was heavily involved in, he was like the mastermind behind that one.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay, give me 1 minute here.
All right.
HBO Max, okay.
I got to talk to my VPN service about this, because now they got all this DZ stuff over there. I got to see about, getting signed up for that thing.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We had HBO Max because my wife, Patricia, I don't know how she does this, but I think because she was in customer service when she worked for Verizon, she knows how to speak like this secret language. Yeah. So when she calls up the customer service, like for DirecTV or whatnot, she always manages to talk them into giving us something, so she got us like HBO for like $6, for 6 months. And I said, how did you do that? And she said, well, if I tell you, I have to kill you.
Yeah.
So, okay, here we go. HBO, DC. Yeah, so, of course, now, since I got all this DC stuff, I said, well, you know what? I'll pay for it, if you kill, because I'm not giving it up now. Okay, I am looking, Batman Begins, Joker, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Shazam, Batwoman, Watchmen, Batman Gotham Knights, Supergirl, Batman Year One, Green Lantern, Freedom Fighters, The Ray. Ooh.
Oh, I heard. Yeah, I remember them doing a lot of those. Oh, wow. I think I can. It looks like I don't have to email my VPN. I think they got us already set up with HBO Max.
Birds of Prey, Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn, the animated series from.
Oh, I've heard that's amazing.
Yeah, I've got to watch that this weekend.
I've seen a few clips of that, and it was really good.
Suicide Squad, Hell to Pay, Batman and Harley Quinn, Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, Batman and versus Two-Face, Justice League versus Teen Titans, JLA Adventures, Trapped in Time. This is everything that's on HBO Max.
Okay, so it sounds like they don't have the Superman, that Superman series on there yet.
They got a ton of Justice League stuff. I didn't do Justice League Gods and Monsters. Oh wow. The Flashpoint Paradox, Throne of Atlantis, War. They got the Lego stuff on there. Hold on one second. Okay. DC Heroes Super Animated. They've got Beware the Batman. They got Teen Titans, The Judas Contract. Green Lantern First Flight. The Lego movies. Batman versus Robin. But no, they don't have that on there yet. No.
Okay. Oh, wow. Now, I just saw that. I was just curious about when Zack Snyder's Justice League will come out. So I looked online. Apparently, there's no official release date, but someone found this press website, and it has the date as September 5th, 2021.
Okay.
So it looks like they're definitely doing some extra work on it then. I thought it was going to be a lot sooner. I thought it was going to be early 2021 at the latest.
That's what I thought. I thought it was going to be, so that just lends credence to the notion that, that there's going to be a little bit more work done than we thought. Because you know what it is? They want to make this as special and as exclusive as possible to get people to sign up for HBO Max. So, let's be honest about it. They're trying to get it. But I'm telling you, just the stuff that I named off, if you're a DC fan and, and you want to get a whole ton of DC stuff in one spot, it may, you may want to drop a couple of dollars on this. What I would do is that I would suggest that you check with your cable or satellite provider, because if you already have HBO, then you already have access to HBO Max, so it matters. Right.
Yeah. So I got I don't. So that's but it's like $15 a month. So I think what I might do is I might drop in and out of the service. Like I'll re-up when there's something I want to watch on it, or when there's something new up there. But other than that, I'll drop out again afterwards, type of thing.
Yeah. Well, that's what we do when because Patricia watches Homeland, and the both of us watch Billions on Showtime. So
okay.
So what we do is that whenever like a new season comes on, we just sign up and just, watch the season, and then, we drop out.
Yeah. So another thing about Snyder's Justice League, which, kind of shows that he hasn't really learned anything from this experience, is someone posted on Twitter that, you know what, I don't really see a whole lot different in the Zack Snyder's Justice League trailer. And Snyder replied to the tweet and said, well, you like the Josh Whedon's Justice League, so because you said it reminded you of a Saturday morning cartoon. So obviously you're not the audience for this movie, because this movie is for adults. And I was like, what? Why is this guy so obsessed with taking Superman and making him for adults only?
I have no idea.
I mean, Superman should be for all ages.
I remember, and I probably told the story before, and if I have, folks, please indulge me, because some have it. I remember going to see Man of Steel. And when I went to see Man of Steel, you know, I'm in the lobby and Patricia she went to the ladies' room, and there's all these kids that they're excited and everything like that because this is going to be their first time seeing Superman on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we go in the movie and we're watching the movie. After about 45 minutes, I'm hearing snores because some of the kids, they went to sleep. I hear other kids saying to their parents, you know, when is this going to be over? Can I go home? Just, you know. And me, I felt kind of disappointed because a kid's first experience going to see Superman in a theater on the big screen, it should not be boring.
No, it should be magical.
Yeah, it should be. It should, you know. And yes, I know some of y'all are going to say I'm living in the past, but it should be like Superman the movie. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel.
No,
that movie was magical. And that's how I felt when I saw it, even as an adult.
Yeah. Superman should be to kids what Star Wars is to kids. It should be something when they come out of it, they got these big smiles on their face. They're reenacting the scenes as they're running out of the theater. That they're begging to go see it again. That's what Superman should do for kids. So if you've got this movie where kids are falling asleep or they're coming out looking depressed, then you've completely screwed up.
Yeah, you've completely screwed. And of course, this is why kids don't want to be bothered with Superman later on. We, you know, give them a Superman comic book, they say, "What is this shit?" Throw it over their shoulder. They don't want to read it because they saw it in, you know, and they say, "Yuck," you know.
Exactly.
They don't want to be bothered with it. That's why I so much appreciated the Superman they presented on the Supergirl TV show.
Yes, who's getting his own TV show as well.
Yeah, because I said, okay, that's Superman.
Yeah. Like that. Sorry, go ahead.
No. And then I was saying, and then you get these people talking about, well, why can't Superman be for adults? Why can't we have an adult Superman? You know what?
Why do you need an adult Superman? That's the thing I don't get.
Why do you need an adult? So what is this thing that you need Superman to be a remorseless killer?
I mean, all these people who say, like, well, I never liked Superman, but I like Zack Snyder's Superman. I'm like, well, then you don't like Superman. I mean, like, and if you don't like Superman, that's fine. You know, there's like, you know, what, millions of other characters out there for you to like. You don't have to like, not every character has to be made specifically for you.
And the real tragedy is that if he was given a decent script to deal with, Henry Cavill could be a classic Superman.
Oh yeah, I mean, we saw flashes of that in the Justice League shots that Whedon directed.
Yeah.
Right, like he's got that the line when I think I referenced this before, but like when he comes back to life and he meets Lois, and she's like, "You smell good," and he's like, "Well, did I not before?" And he's like, you know, he's charming, he's witty, he's intelligent, and like that scene where he confronts Steppenwolf, and you know he goes after Steppenwolf, and he says like, you know, I prefer justice, and you got the Superman theme. I mean, I love that. Those are the best parts of Justice League, you know, despite the CGI mustache.
And I think that when I have this conversation with people and they say, well, you can't do Superman because he's just a Boy Scout. And I said, wait a minute, you saw all Captain America movies, right?
I had literally just had this same discussion with someone the other day. They're like, oh, you can't do Superman. A Boy Scout doesn't work. I'm like, in a post 9/11 world, I'm like, work for Captain America.
Yeah, and I said, well, you like Captain America, right? Oh, I love Captain America. Okay, then what are we talking about?
Yeah, if anything, I think Superman would work better in this day and age than he would in it. Because, I mean, people forget, like, the Superman did not premiere in the 1950s when everything was hunky-dory, right? He appeared in the 1930s in the height of the Great Depression.
Yeah.
I mean, so, like, this whole notion people have that Superman only works in a time when everybody's happy doesn't work. I mean, even Superman the movie, you know, we talked about this way back in our first episode, but that was in the late 70s when New York had a high crime rate and there was a lot of distrust in institutions and all that kind of stuff going on. And you know, Christopher Reeve played it completely straight and it worked, right? There's the scene we talked about before where he says to Lois without a hint of irony or deprecation or anything, where he says, "I'm here to fight for truth, justice, and the American way." And she laughs. And she's like, "You're going to fight every elected official in the city." And he's like, "Oh, you don't really believe that?" And she's looking at him, she's like, "You're serious right now." He's like, "Yeah."
But you know, that's the only way that you can play. And Christopher Reeve sold that so well that here it is, 40 years later, we're still talking about that movie and his performance.
Yeah.
Because he believed it and he sold it. So don't tell me that, well, Superman's corny and we don't need, Superman was created one of the worst periods of American history. Why? Because we needed something to look up to.
Superman works best as a contrast, right? So if you've got a dark world, then that's all the more reason why you need a brighter Superman in it, because he's supposed to be that ray of hope and optimism.
That's why I always tell people whenever I hear that old thing, well, I don't like Superman because I can't relate to him. You're not supposed to relate to You're not supposed to relate to Superman, stupid.
Yeah.
You're supposed to relate to Clark Kent. You aspire to be Superman.
I saw someone.
I saw point.
I saw this great response on Twitter. Someone said, "It's like, well, Superman has to learn that, has to learn about his moral code against killing." And then someone responded with this great tweet. He's like, "That's so true. I cannot wait until my kid is old enough to kill their first humans. They know why it's wrong."
Yeah, so thank you. Such a shame.
Anyway, so other fandom news is we also found out a little bit more about the Flash movie with looks like Ben Affleck is going to be suiting up again as Batman in it.
And Michael Keaton as well.
So, but it's like, I'm kind of nervous about this because this was kind of something we saw with Batman v Superman where they had all these characters announced. So I'm hoping they're not gonna, bite off more than they can chew.
I'm getting the impression that because this Flash movie is going to be the Flashpoint paradox, they're going to do Flashpoint, which to me they're trying to reconcile all of the errors in the continuity as far as the movies go. But didn't they do that with the Crisis on Infinite Earths on the TV series?
Yeah, basically.
Or did I get it wrong? Because they did show that on some Earth somewhere, the movie universes existed along with the TV version. So didn't they kind of sort that out when we saw that, everybody had their own Earth? I don't know.
Yeah, but the problem is that not everybody who watches the movies is going to watch the TV shows and vice versa.
You know what? DC gets into this thing where they keep saying, okay, well, we're going to fix the continuity. We're going to fix the multiverse. And all they end up doing is confusing themselves even more.
And they've been doing, well, I mean, at least they're consistent because they've been doing this for decades.
Yeah, they've been doing this for decades now. They keep saying, oh, we're going to fix the continuity. We're going to fix this. We're going to do that. We're going to have nobody even remembers hyper time anymore. Not that anybody understood what hyper time was in the first place.
Hey, man, I love hyper time. I'm a hyper time fan. Yeah, I will defend hyper time to my dying breath.
Okay, so explain.
So hyper time is basically a theory of the multiverse where like everything exists. Everything. Okay. So it's basically like the universe, the timeline is kind of like its own sentient entity. And so it is like this thing where you can have like the Batman 66 world exists. The Snyderverse exists. The Superman the movies world exists. The Burton movies, the Schumacher movies, they all exist within the same multiversal realm. And that's basically hypertime. Like that's basically
didn't they always do that?
Yeah, but then they tried to the thing about hypertime is they got rid of the multiverse when they did hypertime. Because they had gotten rid of the multiverse in Crisis. So hypertime was kind of a way of bringing back the multiverse.
But isn't hypertime the multiverse?
Yeah, but they had gotten rid of it after Crisis. They had to bring it back.
So why didn't they just call it the multiverse all over again instead of hypertime?
I don't know. Marketing? I don't know why.
See what I mean? It was hypertime was the exact same thing. They just slapped on a new coat of paint and filed off the serial numbers and said, okay, this is brand new.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It's the same thing as the multiverse.
Well, I didn't say it was brand new. I just said I like the concept.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen. I am a big fan of the concept of the multiverse. I just think that it just got out of hand, and they spend too much time trying to fix it instead of just letting it be. Yeah. Instead of just saying, you know what? We're going to let the fans figure it out. We're just going to put out the comic books and that's it. And stop trying to figure out how to fix it. Because, I don't know, as you said, they've been trying for decades and they still haven't done it yet. It's like trying to build a better mousetrap.
Yeah. So the thing about hypertime too, so that here's where hypertime is different from the multiverse, right? In the multiverse, each reality is its own thing.
Okay.
Right? So like you've got the JSA reality, the Golden Age heroes, you got the Silver Age heroes and all that, you got the Earth 3 with the crime syndicate and all that. They're all separate timelines, right?
Okay.
The thing about hypertime is it's more like a river network, right? You know how rivers crisscross and they come in and out. So like this allows for contradictions in continuity. So like whenever you've had a contradiction in continuity, something that doesn't make sense with what's happened before, the explanation for that is that one of the other timelines kind of branched through into that timeline for a brief period. So it's more of an interconnected multiverse where events can cross over, and that allows for these continuity problems.
Moving right along. You know what? I'll just chalk it up to I'm old.
Right. Fair enough. Right along. But yeah, so we're getting Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck, both as Batman in the Flash movie, and also apparently Jim Lee said that taking it back to Crisis, that is where he decides to call himself the Flash. Is his meeting with Grant Gustin's Barry.
Oh, okay.
So like because remember in Crisis, when Barry refers to himself as the Flash, Ezra Miller's like, the Flash? Wow, because he'd never heard it before.
Oh right, yeah.
So apparently, he gets his name from Grant Gustin's Flash.
Wait a minute. So in Justice League, he's never called the Flash?
No.
Really?
They don't actually call. If you think about it, they don't really call any of their characters, like, obviously Batman. But I don't think they ever call Diana Wonder Woman in that movie.
No, yeah, I know that.
And I don't believe they called. They ever referred to the guy. They don't call Cyborg as Cyborg. I can't remember the character's real name right now. Victor, thank you. It was right on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah. No, as a matter of fact, you're right. Because even when Batman is in his costume, they still call him Bruce.
Right. And then
they don't call him Batman. They call him Bruce. Yeah.
And they refer to Arthur Curry is referred to as the Aquaman at one point when Bruce is looking for him, I think. But that's about it. Like other than that, the only characters who get called by their superhero names are Superman and Batman.
Oh, yeah. Know something? I never noticed that before, but I do believe you're right. He was never called the Flash in that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until they had that scene in Crisis. I'm like, oh wait, that's right. He never did call himself the Flash. So it makes sense. And so that's something. That's a cool little tie-in they're gonna have to Crisis. And Greg Berlanti said he's trying to work out a way to have more of the movie characters appear in the TV shows as well. Like to have some sort of cameo or something like that. So how we got Ezra Miller to have a cameo in Crisis. They're hoping maybe they can do something with some of the other characters as well. And also the big thing in the room, we got the Wonder Woman 1984 trailer.
Oh yeah, that was astonishing.
That looked awesome.
I love that.
And we finally see Kristen Wiig as Cheetah.
Yeah, really surprising. She looks like she's going to be a very effective supervillain.
She looks, and I remember, Kristen Wiig's a great actress. So like when she was announced and everyone was starting to get pissed off about it, I'm just like, you know what? I give up, because at this point it's been 30 years since Tim Burton's Batman, and you guys still haven't learned the lesson to just wait and see how the actor does in the role.
No. I mean, they still have not learned.
Yeah.
Like you said, we still have not learned the Keaton lesson.
Yeah.
To not underestimate. Especially, okay, here's the funny thing. If you look back at the history of film completely, not just superhero movies, look at how many comedic actors have won Academy Awards for dramatic roles.
Right.
Jackie Gleason, his most memorable roles in film were dramatic roles.
Mm-hmm.
Red Skelton, he was a comedian. won Academy Awards for dramatic roles.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, what's his name? Robin Williams. Look at Robin Williams. Had about like 3 or 4 iconic dramatic performances.
Oh yeah, I mean he was a brilliant dramatic actor.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. A lot of comedians, matter of fact, you have a lot of. Okay, I'm gonna go so far as say you have a lot of comedians that turn out to be better dramatic actors than the dramatic actors.
Well, you know, because comedy is all about timing. So if you're a good comedian, like you have to be able to slip into different roles. You have to have your timing down like that. So it's no surprise that you're able to slip into these dramatic performances. And Richard Pryor,
brilliant dramatic actor.
Well, something a lot of people don't realize too is that comedy, like a lot of comedians, struggle with things like insecurity and depression. So comedy is a way to mask those feelings.
Right.
And so, like, you know, Robin Williams, famous example, struggled with depression for pretty much his entire life. And so, like, you know, comedy is a way to kind of mask that pain. And so when you slip into these dramatic roles, you've got this personal stuff you can draw
on. What's his name? Dick Van Dyke. Dick Van Dyke, there was a movie he made called The Morning After. It was a TV movie made years ago. Best portray him and Jack Lemmon in Days of Wine and Roses. Best portrayal of alcoholics on film because they actually were alcoholics.
Right, yeah.
You know, but I mean, if you see that movie with Dick Van Dyke, I mean, as far as I know, I heard years ago that they still show that movie in AA meetings because it's such a devastating portrayal of alcoholism. And, you know, it just blew people away that Dick Van Dyke was playing it.
Well, I mean,
but as you know,
along a similar line, Michael Keaton in Clean and Sober, after he had been known for doing comedy his whole career.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, you know, Chris Evans, you know, started off doing comedy. He was in Not Another Teen Movie. And so, like, all these actors, they've got these comic backgrounds, but they can slip into dramatic roles too. So yeah, I'm not surprised at all that Kristen Wiig looks like she's going to do a good job.
Yeah, yeah. This looks like, you know what, I'm already regretting my vow not to step into a movie theater. Really, because I said no, I'm not going to go step foot in a movie theater until they have. But some of these movies that they have coming out, you know, I mean, that Wonder Woman, it looks like it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Really does. I love the scene at the end with Chris Pine trying on different clothes with the fan.
He's trying different, from the 80s, different clothes. Yeah. But he said, wait a minute, does everybody with parachutes now?
Parachute dance? Do people parachute now?
Yeah.
I love that.
All the time now? Yeah. Oh, man. He's another guy got great comic time.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah. I want to see him a lot more stuff. So, yeah, that looks really good. And then the one last thing I wanted to mention is the Gotham Knights video game. Did you see the trailer for this?
No, I haven't.
It's by the same people who did the Arkham Origins game, which is the different from Rocksteady. But it's set in a world where Batman's dead, right? And so it's Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, and the Red Hood. They're picking up the slack after he's done. So and you get to play between all the different characters. They showed some gameplay footage as well with Batgirl, and you get to like ride her motorcycle and everything like that. So it looks it looks like a really cool game. You also have the option to have other people join in, so it can be like cooperative as well. So that looks really cool. These motherfuckers are going to force me to buy a PS5 and just know it.
Can you get that for the Xbox?
I assume it will be. Like these games tend to the Batman games, the Rocksteady ones, and Suicide Squad, right? They've been cross-platform, so I assume it'll be the same case with these.
Because I'm just getting around to, because they had it on Xbox One, they were selling like as a bundle all 3 of the Batman, you know, the Arkham games.
Oh yeah. Those are the 3 Rocksteady ones. Arkham Origins. The only one missing from that is Arkham Origins because that wasn't made by Rocksteady, but it's set in the same continuity. But yeah, but Origins, you know, most people agree is the weakest of the 4 anyway. So, I mean, it's worth a play. It's fun enough, I thought. But yeah, those games are awesome.
Yeah, so I'm just getting around to playing them. You know, they had them on sale, and I said, oh shit, you know.
Yeah, you're in for a good time. You're in for a good time.
Yeah. Oh, okay, thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Ever since I got this damn Xbox One, I've been playing more games than it's good for me.
Yeah, I'm playing. Speaking of games, they had the Avengers game. They had the beta open this past weekend.
Oh,
so
really?
where it was free for like 3 days. You could download it. You could try it out. You get to play some of the story mode. You get to play different missions. You get to sample like the different gameplay modes and stuff. And it's fun, right? It's not. But I don't think I'm going to be spending $80 for it on release day. I think I'm going to wait a little bit until the price comes down.
Yeah, I hear that.
I mean, it's fun, but I got enough games right now to keep me occupied. I'm playing the Outer Worlds now. I still haven't finished Red Dead Redemption 2 or Assassin's Creed Origins, and then I got Assassin's Creed Odyssey on there too. So I got a bunch of stuff I still got to play anyway.
Please don't even start. I got games here. I'm in your boat. I haven't. Mm-hmm. I've had Mass Effect. I've got Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. Right. Mm-hmm. I have not yet got to Mass Effect 2 or 3. Why? Because I'm still on 1. You know why? Because I keep getting distracted with all of the side missions.
Yeah, so I saw this. There's this meme someone posted up about Skyrim the other day, and I'm like, I didn't even know you could do half this shit in Skyrim. I gotta go back into that game again because I kind of like got distracted so much that I ended up moving on to other stuff.
Oh, and then what did I get hooked on for about a month? BioShock Infinite.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because I love BioShock. Because I played the first BioShock until the disc fell apart. Because I love BioShock so much. I haven't played BioShock 2 yet, but I saw BioShock Infinite in Walmart for like $10, and I said, okay, I got to get it.
Yeah.
I stayed up to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning playing this friggin' thing, because it was so detailed and and I kept getting, really. This is why I can't get any writing done, folks. I'm too busy. I'm too busy podcasting with my friends and playing BioShock Infinite.
Yeah, the other day I did a bit of writing. I'm like, okay, so I wrote 1,000 words today, so now I can go play video games and slack off because not feel guilty about it.
Yeah,
because I got classes coming up, next week, so I'm trying to get in as much video game time as I can, as much vacation time as I still can.
And I was telling Patricia today, I said, listen, starting in September, you got to leave me alone. She said, wow, what's the matter? What I do? I said, it's not true. I said, I got 2 novels I promised, and I really got to buckle down, and I got to write these damn things. I said, I've been slacking off horribly. She said, you? She said, no. I said, yes, I have.
You know what? I got, my wife is now getting into video games, too. Kotono picked up a GameCube the other day.
Oh, really? Okay.
So she's been playing, she was up until 2 a.m. last night playing Luigi Mansion. And so she's got like Mario, because she had these games when she was a kid, right? And but her mom got rid of them because she's like, video games are bad influence and all that kind of stuff. And she sees me playing video games, and we were at the store the other day, and she's been wanting a Nintendo Switch, right? But Nintendo Switch is still like $300-400.
Wow.
So she's like, I don't want to pay that much money for it yet. So she's like, I'll wait till it comes. But then she's like, well, I can get a GameCube. Those are like, so she got a GameCube off of an auction site for like $30.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, so she's got a little TV there, so she's got it hooked up to her little TV, and so she's been playing GameCube like every day when she comes home from work.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah. So we played some Mario Kart yesterday. She kicked my ass, of course, but and I told her, I'm like, are you sure you want to play with me? Because you're probably gonna hate this game after I kick your ass. And she's like, no, you're not gonna. She's like, you're not gonna kick my ass. And it's like she beat me each time. She gets in first place. I get in like 8th place, and I'm like, you're cheating. And she's like, no, I'm not.
Yeah. See, there you go. Running your mouth.
Nah, I was just kidding around.
Chauvinist.
All right, now, believe it or not, we actually do have a movie to talk about today that's not tied to any of this shit we've been talking about for like the past hour.
You know what? I completely forgot we supposed to be talking about. We started getting on this. You know what? We should just do an episode called Digressions.
Yeah.
Get all of the digressions out of the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a lot of news going on. I mean, because they had all the fandom stuff. So you had to talk about that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
But the movie we're talking about today is Witchblade from 2000. It was made for TNT. It was served as a backdoor pilot for the Witchblade TV show that ran for 2 seasons from 2001. And Now, what did you have any familiarity with Witchblade before you watched this?
I had no familiarity with Witchblade at all, because this was during the period when in comic books you had a lot of artists that struck out on their own, and they created their own characters, and they were producing books that were to be charitable, not really all that well written. The whole thing was, the artwork was the selling point
Right.
of the book. Now, as much as I love art, and of course, comic books is primarily a visual medium. You look at the pretty pictures. But being a writer myself, I need a little bit more than that to go on.
Right.
So a lot of those books that were, driven primarily by the artwork, I really didn't pick up many of them. And, I think the only one I really picked up was Eric Larson, like Savage Dragon.
Right.
But that's because Eric Larson knows how to write. He's a good writer.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
He's a good writer. Stuff like, those horrendous X-People knockoffs.
Oh, like Wildcats and Youngblood.
Yeah, all that stuff I wasn't interested in that stuff.
Yeah.
And Witchblade, the artwork was pretty. But I remember leafing through a couple of issues while I was in my comic book store, the one I went to at the time, and I said, nah, this is okay.
So Witchblade had kind of an interesting start in comics. So like you said, it was very much like those early Image books where it was primarily artwork driven with Michael Turner's art, and it was the character was co-created by Turner and Mark Silvestri, who was one of the Image founders, and it was very much that the bad girl thing that was going on in the 90s. There was all the craze where you had these women with broken spines in the artwork, and impossibly long legs. There's one scene in because they had the collection on sale like the first year of Witchblade or something. So I bought it and I read it, and I hadn't read these books in a long time. And as I'm reading it, there's this. I'm paying more attention to the art now, especially now that I'm starting to get into art myself. And there's this one scene where Sarah Pizzini, the main character, she walks into this ballroom, and she's wearing this white dress, and you look at it, and the length of her legs and the dress is like twice as long as her torso.
Yeah.
And I'm just staring at this panel. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not.
You had a lot of artists during that period that, unlike other artists, say okay, let me pick one of my favorite artists, John Buscema, who actually went to school and learned how to draw, and he did a lot of other drawing professionally. So he knew how a human body actually works,
right,
and how where the muscles go and everything. But during that era that we're talking about, you had comic book artists that learned how to draw from reading comic books.
Right, exactly.
They didn't go to school and learn how to draw. So what they were doing, they were copying and whatever it was that they didn't know how to do, they just filled in with their imagination.
Yeah. And some of them turned out, some of them, to their credit, some of them that style works. Like it works for Jim Lee. It works for Mark Silvestri. It works for Sam Keith, right? They you have these artists who have this kind of exaggerated style, and it works for them. It does not work for Rob Liefeld.
No.
In most cases, it works for Michael Turner, but there are those moments when you're like, that doesn't work.
Right.
But it was also this whole thing in this era where all the women characters, they had to be supermodels, and they had to wear as little clothing as possible. So
that was the whole thing with, the Witchblade character, at least in the comics, because the Witchblade provided her with armor that did absolutely nothing to cover her.
It did. It covered her naughty bits and tore her clothes to shreds, and that was it.
That's all it did.
Yeah.
Now, it makes very good cosplay. I will say that. I've seen some women cosplay as Witchblade, and it makes for good cosplay. But it's one of those things that when you see it in real life, It looks absolutely ridiculous.
Right, yeah. Like the armor in like fantasy video games, the female armor in fantasy video games. It's got the same type of thing, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like, what's the name from the Conan combo? It's like Red Sonja with her chainmail, the bikini. The chainmail.
Right, yeah.
I mean, come on. It's utterly ridiculous. We go with it because, okay, well, it's fantasy. We go with it.
I mean, with the thing about Red Sonja, I can understand because you do have Conan as a counterpart to that, and they're both like in the same type of world. So it does make sense. She's kind of fitting in with that world, and Conan's the same way.
Yeah. And but he's running around with just a fur loincloth. He's not wearing any garments.
But in a lot of these video games, though, you look at like the ultimate armor they have. Like the male armor is like full body, covers everything, and the female armor, it's like it's like covers less than lingerie.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the thing. It's the contradiction that makes me laugh.
Which is one of the things that this movie kind of fixes. Yeah. Because Sarah Pazzini, she has the gauntlet that covers her hand. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's it. It just covers her, her forearm, So we don't have that ridiculous thing where, of course they didn't have the budget to do that.
Right, yeah.
But in this case, that's where the lack of a budget actually made for a more realistic, well,
and when they do show her fully armored up, it's actual armor. It's an actual suit of armor that covers her up.
Right, which makes more sense. Yeah. So we can buy it. Yeah. We say, okay, yeah, well.
Now, the interesting thing about the comic is after Michael Turner left, one of the editors on the book, Christina Z, she took over the writing duties. And you had Randy Green as the penciler, I believe. And, Randy Green's style, it's not as Image-esque as the other one. So although you still had it wasn't as like overly sexualized. You still had like the exposed skin and everything, but you had a female writer taking over the writing duties of it. And it actually became really good. Like it actually developed a really strong female fan base because of her writing. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure Gail Simone has broken her record now, but at the time, Christina Z was was like the highest selling female comic book writer of all time.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, and that's when I got into it, when she was doing the work, and she was a really good writer. She had done some really good stuff with that book, and later you had Paul Jenkins come on, who was also a really good writer. So it did have this trajectory where it started off, which a lot of Image books kind of went through. Like I know Wildcats went through that as well, where you started off with Jim Lee kind of doing his thing, and then later on Alan Moore comes onto the book, and then later on you get Joe Casey, and they take it and elevate it above like being just an X-Men ripoff.
Oh, okay.
So there was some good stuff in the comic that came after the Michael Turner stuff, which it's most famous for. But now this movie, so what was your experience with this movie going into it?
You know what? As with a lot of the movies that we talked about here, it's been so long since I've seen this that it was like watching a brand new movie. Because I do recall seeing the movie. I do recall watching the TV series because I really like Yancy Butler. Butler, she is by no stretch of the imagination a great actress. Mm-hmm. But there's something about her. She's got that indefinable quality that you like looking at her, and she's convincing in what she's doing. Yeah. There isn't even though she's not the best actor in this movie, that's the guy that plays her partner who gets killed.
William Lee.
Yeah, the Asian guy. Mm. He's the better actor, but for what she has to do in this movie, she's convincing, and really that's all I require you to be. You don't have to give me a performance on the level of a Katharine Hepburn. Right. You have to make me convinced of what you're doing in the reality of this movie. And that's what she does here. Yancy, like I said, I like her a lot. In doing my research for this, I ran across a review written by Keith, I hope I get his last name right, DeCandido. Yeah. I ran across a review that he wrote in this movie, and he said something that cracked me up that I have to share. He says that Yancy Butler is the only actor he's ever seen who looks like she was drawn by John Byrne. And the more I watched this movie, I said, you know something? Damn, if Keith isn't right. You know, she does look like a John Byrne character. You know
what I really like about Yancy Butler in this is that I buy her as an NYPD detective.
Yeah.
Like Sarah Pizzini, especially in the Michael Turner stuff, I could not buy her as a NYPD detective. She's like this supermodel. She's easily tricked by Kenneth Irons and all that. But Yancy Butler, like, she's an attractive woman, right? She's not. You would never call her ugly, right? She's a very attractive woman, but she's got this down to earth quality about her.
Yeah, you know what? She looks like somebody that I wouldn't be surprised to see walking down the street.
Right. Also, she's got that kind of husky voice, which I think really works for the idea of her being a cop.
Yeah, yeah. And like, she's got this like messy tomboyish type of quality.
Yeah. That was one thing I like. You see her in the beginning when she's getting dressed, and you see her like pulling her jeans up over her underwear. It's not like you know frilly panties or something like that. It's like long johns.
Right. Yeah. They're serviceable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I mean, obviously she didn't take a shower. They would have showed that, she just gets out of bed and puts on her clothes and go. The same clothes, mind you, and I believe she goes through the whole movie wearing the same clothes. There is no contrived scene where she has to wear like a ballroom dress.
The closest we ever get is when she goes to the nightclub at the end. Right, and she's wearing like the leather pants and like the midriff shirt, but that's it, and that's still functional.
Right, but usually, like you will see that they'll have some kind of contrived scene where she has to show cleavage, like she has to go undercover and she has to pretend to be like a prostitute. Or
the very first page of the very first issue had that scene where she has to wear this tight, revealing red dress. Yeah,
see what I mean? You don't get none of that in this movie. She doesn't.
In fact, I may be misremembering, but I believe like you actually see a close up of her cleavage in the comics before you actually see her face.
See what I mean? You don't get that here.
No.
I mean, like I said, she wears very serviceable, functional, messy clothes. She's got that messy, tomboyish type of quality. Yeah, I find myself very appealing for this character. And for her style of acting.
Like it works very well for the character.
It does. Yeah. It works very well.
Especially the fact that, everybody calls her Pez instead of calling her Sarah, right? That also helps work as well for that kind of, because they treat her as one of the guys, basically.
But yet, her femininity, am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah.
Her femininity, isn't lost at all.
No. But even like that's what I love about this movie. Like it's not a great movie. It's got a lot of problems because it's made for TV. It's got a low budget and all that kind of stuff. The script's not the best, but there's a lot of good stuff in the way I really like the way they present Sarah in this. It works a lot better than it did in the comic books because even when they do show her, they never resort to pure sex appeal with her.
Exactly.
Even when they show like. The Witchblade comic is famous for showing her, scenes when she's sleeping in bed and she dreams about the Witchblade and she's wearing like these skimpy negligees and that kind of stuff, or she's wearing nothing but panties with the blanket conveniently drawn over her breasts or whatever like that. Or they show her scenes in the showers and it's very like, close-ups on certain aspects of her. In this, we see a scene of her in bed, but she's wearing boxer shorts and a tank top.
Yeah.
Or we see her in the shower, but she's like completely covered up. It's never sexualized.
And okay, this is another reason why I like this woman so much, because you can tell from her body language, this is stuff she sleeps in every night.
Exactly.
For all I know, that may be the stuff that Yancy Butler actually sleeps in because she's very comfortable in wearing it,
And also you get the scene when she's training at the gym and you can see like, Yancy Butler's got some build to her as well.
Yeah, exactly. Which makes it very plausible when she's going toe to toe, beating up on guys and everything like that. Cause you can see, okay, well, this chick's got some muscles,
Right.
Yeah. I mean, she's, One thing about this movie I got to mention before we talking about the budget and everything like that. You know when I knew that this movie was not actually filmed in New York?
What's that?
When we got our third or fourth shot of the Twin Towers. Anytime a movie is not filmed in New York, they will do one or two things. They will either show the Twin Towers or the Empire State Building, or some other landmark.
And they do both of those in this.
Yeah, but they will. But if you notice, nobody ever mentions like, okay, there's certain New York-isms that people say to let you know that you are in New York. They don't do that in this movie. And once we got to that third shot that they had, I think it was a shot at sunset, and the sun was between the Twin Towers. I said, this was not filmed in New York. This was filmed in Vancouver. This is some shit filmed in Vancouver.
I remember when I was watching it last night, and I remember I think it was the subway scenes. I'm thinking I'm betting Derrick's going to mention the fact that this is not shot in New York.
No, this wasn't shot in New York.
Because I remember we were talking about the subway and in Joker last week, and you were talking about how it felt like a New York subway.
Yeah.
And this one, I'm thinking I've never ridden the subway in New York, but even watching it and just knowing you for so long, I'm just like, I'm betting Derrick's going to talk about the subway here.
No. You can look at that and say, nah, that ain't the subway. No, that's not the subway in New York. But you know something? Okay, here's the weird thing about this movie. Here's what's got me. If you took away the Witchblade, right? If we didn't have that, what are you left with?
Oh, it's a straight up cop drama.
Right. You're left with your typical 1980s cop revenge thriller. You know, cop's partner gets killed, cop seeks revenge against. The only difference here is that the cop is played by a woman.
Right.
And not say like Chuck Norris or, somebody that, which if this movie was made in the 80s, that's who the cop would have been. It would have been somebody like Chuck Norris or something like that. But that's what you basically have here. You have a cop thriller with a cop seeking revenge against the mob boss that killed her partner.
Yeah.
And the Witchblade is like thrown in almost as an afterthought.
Yeah. And speaking of partners, got to talk about William Lee, as you mentioned before. This guy's done a ton of shit. Like, he was in the Wolverine movie.
Yeah.
And
a bunch of stuff.
They changed his character's name. In the comic, his character is actually named Michael Yee, and he has he's killed right away, just like in this, but he never appears after that. But William Lee, I'm guessing because, everybody knows he's such a good actor, they decided to keep him around for the TV show as as this ghost who keeps appearing to Sarah.
Which also is a little subtle bit of racism I detect here because, okay, he's a better actor than the guy who eventually takes over as Pizzini's partner.
Yeah, Jake McCarthy.
Right? But they kill off the more interesting guy because, who's Asian in favor of, the white guy who is a pretty bland character, let's be honest. Played by a pretty bland actor.
David Chokachi.
This guy, he had that trench coat working for him. He had the hair, he had a rapport with Yancy Butler that the other guy who becomes a partner that she doesn't have with it.
I think part of this also happened in the comics too. So I think part of the problem is they're sticking with the comics. But it is the same problem in the comics. Well, Michael Yee, he didn't really have much to do in the comics, but you're right. That is a failing of this because they didn't. When you're writing the script, you can't account for the fact that the script is written before the actors are chosen, and you get to see how they interact with each other. So I think that's why they decided to keep William Lee coming back in the TV show, because of this chemistry he had with Yancy Butler.
Yeah. Because
none of that happens in the comics.
Because they have a couple of scenes together where they're just sitting in the car, they're on stakeout, and they're just having banter back and forth. And that's some of the most entertaining dialogue in the whole movie.
Yeah. Well, he's talking about Jake McCarty, and Sarah's like, "Oh, you think he's hot, don't you?" And he goes, "No, I think Ricky Martin's hot."
yeah. And no, it's actually entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, they feel like they're old friends.
Right. It's certainly more entertaining than any of the dialogue she has with Jake.
Mm-hmm. Now, I do kind of like Jake. He's just like he is in the comics. So I did like David Chokachi for that. In fact, he was like the fan casting for Jake McCarthy. The character's name is McCarthy in the comics. It's McCarty in this. I don't know why they changed that, but he was actually like the fan choice for this character. And, he does fit this character as he was portrayed in the comics very well. I did like I did like his kind of, I don't know, something about him. You're right. He's not as good as Will-Yun Lee, but for some reason, I just kind of like the character.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, and see, now that you told me that the Asian guy was killed off in the comic as well, I retract my statement because I thought that they just did that, because they wanted to give the juicy role, they just wanted to get rid of the Asian guy and make the white guy. But if that's how it happened in the comics, I'll go with it.
Yeah. So, but you're right. It would have worked better if they were able to switch those two roles, but they would have had to had, some foresight into what was going to happen with the chemistry. And then, so we got also Ian Nottingham, played by Eric Edebari. Oh, one thing you mentioned though about the trench coat, right? So Will-Yun Lee and Eric Edebari, they both wear these trench coats. And am I forgetting something? Was there a style in 2000 where guys would wear trench coats that were like 3 sizes too big for them?
Oh yeah, I have one too.
Oh really? So that was the actual style at the time.
Then. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I had a trench coat that was flapping around my knees and around my ankles,
Okay, because I'm watching them wearing these trench coats, and they're like, these guys are like swimming in these trench coats.
Yeah. Okay, now let me ask you something, because like I said, I don't know anything about the comics. This guy, Ian Nottingham, is that all he did in the comic, was just lurk in the background and say mysterious shit?
At first, yeah. So like this comic, this movie is, he eventually does become a bigger part, right? But in the first few issues, that is basically all he did. And, but...
I like his name, though. I like the name. Yeah, that's a cool name.
Well, in the one of the things I like about him is that you can buy him as like this mysterious assassin, right? Because he's very unassuming. He just blends into the background. Ian Nottingham in the comics is like built like a tank, and he's got like this long flowing black hair, and he always carries a katana with him everywhere that's not concealed or anything like that. So, which looks cool in the artwork, but when you want someone who's trying to be an inconspicuous assassin, that's not the look you want to go with.
Yeah, like this guy, all through the movie, he just like, we really don't know his deal, even when it's revealed that he works for this mysterious billionaire type who knows all about the Witchblade and everything like that. We still don't know the deal with that, because there was one part in the movie where I thought that he was going to kill Sarah after he takes out the assassin that was hired to kill her, and he takes the gun and he's looking through the sniper scope. I said, wait a minute. Well, and you see his fingers inching toward the trigger, and I'm saying, what? Wait a minute, is he? I thought he was supposed to, So so for most of the movie, we're really not sure what the deal with this cat is.
Yeah. But I thought he played that mysterious angle really good, and you do get to see his skills in action. The scene when he meets with Gallo and he beats the shit out of all of his guys,
which is probably the best fight scene in the whole movie.
Definitely, without a doubt.
Yeah, there's one that's in the theater where Sarah, when her partner gets killed, and she has to fight Gallo's men while Gallo takes it on the hoof. And that is, I'm going to be charitable here and just say, it's just one of the worst choreographed fight scenes I've ever seen.
It's very much like they're trying too much to be like the Matrix and John Woo.
Yeah.
And they're
trying way too hard.
Yeah, and they don't have the technical skill to do it. They don't have the budget to really make it look good. And so the scenes on the special effects really kind of show through in this stuff.
Yeah. But that fight with that fight that you just said, and you can see that this guy obviously has some kind of martial arts training or something like that,
right?
Because it's obviously him. It's I don't know. To me, it looked like it was actually him, the actor playing.
Yeah, I think so.
Nottingham. It's not a stunt man. It's actually him. You know?
The only thing I didn't like is, again, the problem with the too big trench coat, even if it was the style at the time, is it makes him look smaller. Right, he doesn't look as imposing with that. Whereas if it was a leaner cut or something like that, he might look a little bit. It might fit him a little bit better, I think.
I got you.
But
well, you know what I always. Well, to me, I always think that really when you have like characters like that, since they can't wear a cape, they got to wear these oversized trench coats to give them like the aspect that to give them like a vaguely superheroic feel.
Right.
Because then the trench coat is flying all over the place, which is exactly why they said that in The Matrix, they gave Keanu Reeves, they gave him those big flowing, trench coats.
Right,
they couldn't give him a cape. They said, we couldn't give him a cape, but we gave him this trench coat. That was, 3 sizes too big. So when he's moving, you get that feel that it's like a cape.
Yeah. And then we had Anthony Sestaro as Kenneth Irons, who you mentioned, the billionaire, who's kind of like the Lex Luthor type of the Witchblade comics.
He's not even Lex Luthor because, again, all he does is just stand around and say a lot of mysterious shit.
Well, I mean, in the comics, that's what he's like, Lex Luthor, basically, right? Oh, billionaire supervillain, basically.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, in the movie, because in the early comics as well, he served the same role. He was just kind of like, he was giving Sarah information on the Witchblade, and later it turns out he's a villain. But
because we see that apparently he's raised up Ian Nottingham since he was a kid, because there's one scene that we have where he's telling Ian, and Ian is like the little kid. He's just like a cowboy, which I thought was awfully cute, too. I thought it was really cute. And he's standing there, and he's got a little big old oversized sheriff's badge on, and he looks so serious and everything like that. And Irons is explaining to him his theory about life and cosmology and what time. This little kid is just saying, yeah. Okay, listen, can I go eat my cornflakes and watch Captain Kangaroo?
And then when he talks to Ian in the office, he takes out the old toy gun too.
yeah, he takes out the old toy gun. Yeah, and actually, it was kind of a touching thing when Ian goes over and he looks like he's about to pick up the gun.
Yeah.
And then like he pushes it away, like well, I'm not that kid anymore. I'm not. We're dealing with real shit now.
Yeah, and then but the thing that killed me about that scene watching is when the scene opens with Ian standing in that kind of like little window alcove, and he's just like staring out the windows, and then Irons takes out the gun and starts talking to him, and Ian walks over, like you said, he kind of turns away from the gun, and he just walks back over to the alcove and goes back to staring.
Yeah.
I was like, is he recharging? What's going on here?
Oh man.
Yeah. But all right, and then the main story, of course, about Sarah going after Tommy Gallo. I don't know. For me, like, I thought this was the least interesting part of the movie. The whole main story about going after Gallo. Because,
Oh yeah.
It's just so by the numbers, and Conrad Dunn isn't really that impressive as a villain. Like he's just like a standard wise guy. There's nothing original or nothing that stands out about his character at all.
Yeah, he's got no big grandiose scheme like to take over New York or
Which would be fine, but like just at least if you're not going to have some sort of like grand scheme or anything like that, at least give me some personality with the character.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just the 500th Goodfellas ripoff we've seen, time and time again.
Yeah, that's it. The only thing that we have about him is that, okay, well, he killed Sarah's partner and he killed one of her friends.
Yeah, Maria,
drug addict. So, and that's it. And that's all we got on the guy.
And then he kills Danny, and that's it. Yeah. Yeah,
and then that's it. And and basically, that's all we have on the guy. He has no personality.
Right.
He has no grandiose scheme. It's not like there's a threat in this movie big enough to justify the mystical power that Sarah is given, because the movie is all about her just getting, the Witchblade. Really, that's all it is.
Right. It's all set up for the TV show.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. This movie is also, matter of fact, even when the movie gets to the end, they even acknowledge that, that this is all just a big setup for, the TV set, So what do you do when your own movie even acknowledges, well, there's no, she even says that, she said, well, there's no final scene here. So, no. So, wait a minute. You're not supposed to
You're not supposed to say that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to, and then the movie just ends. You say, wait a minute.
Oh, what was interesting about the final painting, because it ends on that painting of Sarah in Kenneth's showroom.
Yeah.
And that's a version of of one of the comic book covers. But
that's what I
but what was different from the painting versus the actual comic cover?
What?
In the painting, she's wearing a shirt.
Okay. Because TNT, well, it wasn't exactly a family network back then. Back then when this show, when Witchblade was on, TNT was primarily pretty much known as a show that was...
well, they also did have one painting where one of the Witchblade wearers, her breasts were bare. So that one, I think it's just more because they're trying to acknowledge the fact that this is Yancy Butler playing the character.
But what they did, but TNT was directed toward a demographic toward men, and that's what it was probably, action adventure series,
Right.
Directed at men, which is why I think that was one of the reasons why this series caught on, because that's the demographic that it was aimed at, And they had a bunch of action adventure series that was, they had a bunch of low budget action adventure series in this vein, but this one apparently, like I said, I did some research. Apparently, for some reason, this show really caught on.
It did, yeah. This show was one of the highest rated TV shows at the time.
Yeah, and I think as we mentioned the last time, it was not canceled because of ratings. Because the ratings were sky high. It was
yeah.
Yancy Butler was going through her problems with alcoholism, and that's why the show got canceled.
And in fact, this has happened one other time before with Blade the series. Remember on Spike TV, and which everyone thinks it was canceled because it got low ratings. It didn't. It actually got really high ratings, but the show was just too expensive to keep going. And that was
a terrible, and it was a terrible show.
I kind of liked it.
Yeah, well, you know what? Okay, it was called Blade the series, so I expect the show to be about Blade. I don't expect him to be a supporting character in his own show.
Yeah, that's a fair criticism, and that's part of the problem is because Blade as a character is just not that interesting. Well,
yeah, he's not. I mean, and now all the black people listening to this are saying, "You dirty, lousy traitor." Not to say I don't enjoy the Blade movies. I do. I love this Wesley Snipes Blade movie.
Oh yeah.
But what people got,
or at least the first two.
But what people have to understand is that really Blade in the comic books wasn't that much of a character.
No. I mean, he was a supporting character in Dracula.
He was a supporting character, and when when Wesley Snipes picked him up, Wesley Snipes was the one that gave him all of the accoutrements that we now associate with the Blade in the comic books was running around with wooden knives, for God's sake.
Yeah.
All that other stuff, Wesley Snipes, gave him all of that and gave him a personality. That thing with the Daywalker, that wasn't in the comic books.
No.
That was, that came from the movies. Wesley Snipes gave him all that kind of stuff.
And, the thing is, but even still, the character, even in the movies, he doesn't have a whole lot of personality. Most of those movies are on the strength of the action.
Yeah, that's what they are. They're not,
and also his interactions with Whistler.
Yeah,
like Whistler's Chris Christopherson is really the star of that movie. He's doing all the heavy lifting with the acting.
Yeah, I mean Blade himself as a character really doesn't, because he doesn't have a lot of motivation outside of just killing vampires.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's it. I mean, that's all he does. He eats, sleeps, breathes, killing vampires.
Yeah.
There's no, no romance, no friends, no hanging out. I mean, no, there's none of that in there. So,
and that's why every Blade comic has ended after just a few issues, because you can't really find the way to make that character work as a headlining character.
Yeah, because you can't give him any supporting characters, because Blade is not a character designed to have supporting characters.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have him. Okay, here's what it is. You can't humanize the character, because if you humanize the character, then he's not Blade anymore.
Right.
What is he going to do? Is he going to go to the suburbs and he's going to get married and he's going to raise a family and have a... Now,
I kind of want to see that story now.
Yeah, actually I do. Now I did hear a rumor that they said that what Wesley Snipes wanted to do was that he wanted to bring Blade back, and he would basically be the Whistler character, and there would be a new Blade, his daughter, who he was training to take over. That was
I'm not sure if Snipes was involved in this or not, or if it's rumors getting mixed up, but there was supposed to be a Blade comic book that was supposed to come out that was going to have that premise.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if that just kind of mixed in with because at the same time, Snipes was in discussions with Marvel.
Right. Okay.
So I don't know if maybe these two rumors got mixed together or something, or maybe Snipes was involved in some way in that. I don't know, but whatever the case, there was a comic that was planned about that.
Okay. Okay. That's what I heard. I heard that Wesley Snipes had went to Marvel himself, and he had pitched that idea to them.
Okay.
He said, "Well, listen, if you're going to bring back Blade, I want to be involved, and this is the way that we can go." And so I mean, but you know what? It's all a moot point now, because they got what's his name, Marshala Ali.
Yeah, he's gonna be playing Blade.
Yeah. So
and all right. Then the other thing about this movie, I liked Joe Siri, the police captain, because he was in the comics. He was just your standard gruff police captain who's always shouting at everybody all the time. In this, Kenneth Welsh plays him a lot more subdued, right? He's not as shouty and all that. I like that aspect of it.
Well, he's the surrogate parent.
Right, yeah. And I think that played off a lot better in this series than it did in the comics.
Because there's a part where they're having an argument, and because he asked her for her badge and her gun. Mm-hmm. And, we get some back and forth dialogue, and she said, "Yeah, well, you know me since I was a kid,
Yeah.
So I was trying, he mentions that, yeah, your father was my partner and things like that. So he's like the surrogate parent. And they do have a nice little thing going on. I enjoyed their back and forth and their relationship. I didn't understand the whole point of him revealing at that time that she was adopted. I did.
Yeah, and I don't think that was I don't remember if that was in the comics or not either.
Maybe that was something that was picked up later on down the road in the TV series.
I haven't watched the whole TV series, but I was doing some reading up on it just before this episode. And it seems like, it did become a plot point in the TV show.
Oh, okay, that's what I figured. Because a lot of times in these pilots, that's what they do. They'll drop these little things here that they can say, okay, well, you know what, further down the road, we'll come back to that when they need a story. They say, oh, well, remember we said, oh, okay, well, we can write a script around that.
Right.
So that's why I figured that they just, threw that out there. Because, I don't know, it just seemed funny that at that time he would tell her that.
Yeah, it's just...
Yeah, it was just an odd time for him to reveal that, Well, guess what? Suspending you, you're probably going to be brought up on charges. And, oh, by the way, you were adopted. What the hell? Now you tell me, you could have taken me out for a nice dinner and, I mean, that's what you do when you drop a bombshell like that. Like,
yeah.
Oh, let's go to the bar. I got something I want to tell you. You get them liquored up first, and then, it just struck me as funny. That's all. Mm-hmm. But I did like, you know what? I really don't have a problem with any of the acting in this movie, because I realized that this was a made-for-TV thing. So therefore, I have the unique ability, apparently, which a lot of comic book movie fans don't seem to have. I can adjust my expectations depending on the budget and level of what it is that I'm watching.
Right.
So I'm looking at this movie and I'm not expecting to see Captain America Civil War.
No, exactly.
This is a TV movie, it's a pilot for a series. So, that's how I took it. And, and I'm not saying that well, damn, now I want to see the series again. But I did not feel my time was wasted watching it. And it was good seeing Yancy Butler again,
Yeah.
I mean, when she was in her prime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is a good, I thought it definitely made me want to watch the series, which I am gonna do now. And it was a nice start, and they did improve on some things from the original comic story, especially in the way they portray Sarah, and also, her relationships with Danny, with Jake. They feel more real than they did in the comics book. They try to there was a lot of forced drama, especially in those early issues of the comics, that just did not work.
Yeah, and once again, I have to say that sometimes just because a movie has a small budget, that can actually work for it, because except for a couple of scenes, like really that scene in the museum where she leaps across and the glove leaps up in the air and just happens to stick on, but except for that, this movie has got like a down to earth quality that I found most appealing.
Yeah.
Like I said, if it wasn't for the Witchblade, you could take this as a straight cop thriller.
Well, when you're thinking about, shows, comic books to make into TV shows, especially in this time, the Witchblade is the perfect thing to do it, because you've got this supernatural element, but you can all dress it up with this, with a police procedural.
Right, exactly. And you have a logical reason for her to be getting involved in stuff like murders and crime. And
right,
everything.
Yeah.
You don't have to go hunting for a reason. Well, she's a cop and she investigates crime, which is why you saw that there was a lot of these shows during the 70s and 80s. The main character would have like some superpower that he had to keep hidden, but he was a cop, and, he would, use his powers to, solve the crime, but he couldn't let anybody know. But there was always one person on the force that, So that's kind of like Witchblade. That's how I kind of took it. That, okay, well, here's this cop, and she's got this one angle, this one ace up her sleeve that gives her an edge when she's chasing the bad guys.
Right. Yeah. All right. So, any final thoughts about this movie?
Only that, and I want to say to you, my esteemed partner, thank you for hooking me up.
Oh, you're welcome.
So I can see this. And now I don't know how the rest of you folks are going to find this, but if you do decide that you want to watch this, I mean, it's.
Well, it looks like it is on Amazon Prime.
Okay. Well, you know what? If you want to spring for the rental fee or whatever, it's not a bad movie. I mean, it's not like a seminal touchstone in the history of superhero movies.
Yeah.
Not by any means stretch of the imagination. But it is entertaining. I would give it, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a 7. 7.5. Yeah.
And it looks like both seasons, and season 1 includes this TV movie. They're both available on Amazon. I don't know if it's part of Prime subscription or if you have to buy the episodes individually. So I'm only seeing you can buy the seasons for like $15 a piece, but they also got the DVD set of the whole series. I guess it's maybe an out of print one or something, because it's a used version, and it's selling for like, $19. So if you want to get the complete series, which has, both seasons on it, you can get that as well.
Oh, okay.
So it's available. So yeah, it's available for people can get it, and it's not bad. I'm definitely gonna go and check out the rest of the series now.
Oh, okay.
All right, and yeah, I think my sympathies are pretty much the same as yours. It's not great, but it was made in 2000, and they did the best they could with what they were given, and it works as a pilot to a TV show. Like it's a basic cable TV show. It's not you're not looking at like HBO quality here, but
No. Yeah, don't Like I said, folks, you watch something like this, you have to adjust your expectations of what it is. No, you are not. There's not a whole bunch of CGI in this.
And
the
CGI there is, you're grateful there's not more of it.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to have your major fight scenes and stuff like that. Really, actually, even though this was made in 2000, like I said, I felt like I was watching something from the 1980s, actually. That's the vibe I was getting from it. It's a very strong 1980s type of vibe from this thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But it's entertaining enough. It's you go in there with your expectations appropriately adjusted, and yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. Especially if you know anything about the comics, I think you'll. And if you're not only reading the comics for the tits and ass, I think you'll appreciate the changes they made to Sarah's character.
This is the type of movie that I would say, okay, this is what you do. Make a note of it. And sometime because winter is coming, Yeah. And that's not a Game of Thrones reference. Winter really is coming. And you know what? You're home on a Saturday, you hear it's going to snow or it's going to be really cold and you're not going to go out anyway. And you say, oh, you know what? There was that movie that Derrick and Perry, let me check this out. And that's what you do. You save it for a rainy day or a snow day. I mean, when you're not going out.
Right, yeah.
And you can't find anything to wear. You know what? You don't have to watch Avengers Endgame for the 15th time,
Hey, is that a judgment on me?
No, because I've seen Avengers Endgame about 15 times. No. Trust me, I rewatch superhero movies. But I just watched Civil War just the other day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I watched it. I said, you know what? I want to see Civil War, damn it. And I just put it on and I watched it. Yeah.
Yeah, there have been times when my wife has come in. She's like, "Are you watching Avengers Endgame again?" And I'm like, "So?"
Oh God, yeah. Oh, Patricia, plenty of times. She says to me, "Wait a minute. How many times have you seen that?" I said, "It doesn't matter." And
she comes in at the end. She's like, "You're still you've seen this movie like 20 times and you still cry at the end." Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh, hell yeah. You kidding me? Absolutely. I lose it at the funeral.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh man. You know what? This is one of them things like, my wife and I were in the car the other day, and Afternoon Delight came on. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about, and we're singing the song, mind you. We're going, Afternoon Delight, rockets in flight, Afternoon. And we're singing the song and everything like that. And the song was over, and I said, Patricia, I want you to remember one thing. She said, what? I said, do not trust anybody who does not like this song. And that's it. There are some songs in some movies, if people tell me that they don't like it, I don't trust them. I'm sorry.
I do like that song, but you know what? Now I can't listen to that song without thinking of Arrested Development, because there's this, I don't know if you ever saw the whole series, but there was this one episode where what's his name? The main character, Michael, he starts to get closer with his niece, and then his sister, she gets jealous, so she starts to get closer with his son. And and each of them have a scene where they sing Afternoon Delight at karaoke together. And like halfway into the song, both Michael and his sister, they realize, holy shit, we know what this song is about.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah, I know so many people that have known that song for years, and they don't know what it means. And
yeah.
And they said, really? Is that? I said, yeah, that's what it means. Yeah. A lot of people, you'd be surprised. But there are certain like movies and TV shows and songs, stuff like that. If somebody tell me they don't like To Kill a Mockingbird, do not trust that person with your husband, wife, or wife.
Yeah.
It's just that, I'm sorry, folks. It's just like that. Anybody tells me they don't get at least a lump in their throat during the funeral scene in Avengers Endgame, there's something wrong with you.
Absolutely, definitely.
There's something wrong with you. I'm sorry. It's
okay.
Just that simple.
All right.
But I give Witchblade, yes, my I would not say enthusiastic recommendation, but like I said, if Saturday is raining or it's cold, it's snowing, you don't feel like going out, you would not be wasting your time watching this.
No, it's entertaining enough. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that was my pick for this week, which means next week is back to you. So what are we watching next?
Okay, now, this is a movie, and I know that we always say to you guys out there that it would behoove you to watch some of these movies before we discuss them so you know what we're talking about if you haven't seen them already.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely recommend that you watch this one before we discuss it, because this one is really out there in left field. And the movie that I'm picking that we're going to be discussing next week is The Cobbler, starring Adam Sandler and Dustin Hoffman.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people may not think it's a superhero movie. I do, and next week I will break it down for you why I think it's a superhero. But I think that if you watch it, you'll understand why I consider it to be a superhero movie. So yeah.
So I haven't seen this movie before, but I'm just checking up right now. I know it's on iTunes, so it's on iTunes for like $1 to rent, so that's no problem.
Yeah.
Although I think my wife's gonna be happy you picked this because she likes Adam Sandler.
Yeah, and mind you, I am not a big Adam Sandler fan. I watched this movie because a friend of mine had seen it, and he said, "Listen, I know you don't like Adam Sandler." He said, "But this is an Adam Sandler superhero movie." I said, "Get the fuck out of here." He said, No. He said, "Watch." I said, "Okay." He said, "Know what? If you don't agree with me," he said, "I will give you your rental money back."
Mm-hmm.
So I rented it, and I called him up, and I said, "Know what? You ain't got to give me the money back. You're absolutely right. It is a superhero movie. It's a superhero origin movie."
Yeah, and I was kind of surprised because I know how you feel about Adam Sandler, so I was kind of surprised when you said that you were gonna choose this one for the next one.
And know what? Actually, okay, Adam Sandler. There are a couple of his movies. For some bizarre reason, although everybody I know they hate the movie, I like 8 Crazy Nights.
Okay.
I like that. I like the early movie he made where he plays the hockey player that becomes the golf.
Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
I like Punch Drunk Love.
Mm-hmm.
I like the one he made with Don Cheadle, Reign Over Me.
Okay.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, I like that stuff. It's like, I don't know, it's his later movies that, yeah, I don't.
You know what? I like his movies at least one time. I like, because the stupid comedy, I like the stupid comedy. So like I can watch a lot of his movies the first time and I'll like it, but if I watch it more than that, I'll probably hate it.
Yeah, Adam Sandler, he's the type, his comedies aren't the ones that you can watch over and over again. It's like, okay, I watch it, it was funny, and except for Happy Gilmore. I can still watch Happy Gilmore again and I can get a good laugh out of it.
Yeah.
But, most of his other movies, no. Mm-hmm. But I like 8 Crazy. But for some reason, anytime I say I like that, people say, "Really? You like that one?" It's like, yeah.
I remember watching that. I remember that was funny enough. I saw that in the theater.
Yeah, for some reason, even Adam Sandler fans, they're not crazy about that movie. Well, I don't know. But anyway, that's what we're going to be discussing next week, folks.
Okay.
The Cobbler.
Yep. So getting a bit out of left field here. So yeah, we'll be watching The Cobbler next week. So you'll definitely want to check that out first. And like I said, it's only $1 on iTunes, so it's not going to break your bank. So
okay.
All right, that does it for now. Head on over to our Facebook group, Superhero Cinephiles. Remember, our 50th episode is coming up, and we're looking for, and we decided, fans said they wanted us to do a live commentary of a movie. So we're taking suggestions from movies. When we get a bunch of suggestions, when we get closer to that date, we're going to put up a poll so you guys can vote on which of the movies that have been suggested that you want us to cover for our 50th episode. And whichever one gets the most votes, that's what we'll do.
So far, we had a couple of people that made recommendations that said, well, whatever we pick, it should be something that everybody, or at least the majority of people have seen, or at least have access to, or whatever. So I don't know. We're kind of leaning toward that, I think, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the hope. But we are going to leave it up to the fans to make the decision. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean.
So yeah, so that's why if you want to make sure that you help us with that, make sure you get over to the group and make sure you give us your suggestions. We have some good ones.
folks, do you really want to leave it up to us?
Yeah, because you know what
Perry and I are capable of by now.
I mean, don't forget, this guy has an encyclopedic worth of knowledge on, TV movies that you have never heard of before. So if you don't get in there and give your suggestions, he's going to pick Condor Man or some shit like that.
Oh, man. Yeah. You know what? You read my mind. Trust me, folks. This is something you do not want to leave up to me.
All right. So that does it for now. Thanks so much for listening, as always, and we will see you next time.
Okay. Good night and God bless. And remember, continue to stay safe out there. The corona is still out there. So wear your mask, wash your hands, and maintain social distancing. Okay?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Superhero Cinephiles podcast. If you have any questions or comments about this or any other episode, or if you have a superhero movie or TV show you'd like us to cover in a future episode, you can email us at superherocinephiles@gmail.com, or you can also visit us on the web at superherocinephiles.com. If you like what you hear, leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. Each review helps us reach more potential listeners. You can also support the show by renting or purchasing the movies discussed, or by picking up our books, all of which can be accessed through the website, as well as find links to our social media presences. The theme music for this show is a shortened version of Superhero Showdown, a royalty-free piece of music courtesy of FezleonStudios.com.